I got it recording.
Yep.
Thank God for a 9:15 start today. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Sorry for the 2-minute lateness as the meeting started. Approve the July 8th, 2025 meeting minutes.
I move to approve.
I second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I'd like to, move the collective bargaining agreement up to number 2, if everybody's okay with that, just because I don't want to get bogged down in the budget and not be able to talk about it beforehand.
And
You
I
guys-
didn't get a copy of it, so I'm
That-
trying to find it now.
So, it's online, it wasn't mailed out to everybody. The other thing is, it did make the main agenda, but I don't see it on the admin and finance, so.
So what? Admin, oh,
The version that made it into the packet,
okay.
interestingly enough, does not have it.
It didn't make it into my packet
Oh, okay.
online, so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just resent them to you guys because I did not realize I didn't attach.
oh, okay, well then let me do that as
Okay.
opposed to,
Okay.
And I didn't see it on the, I thought, I did add it to the main agenda,
Was
but
that the G
I didn't
McLean?
add it on the, but you had talked about moving it up, so.
Yeah, so I mean, are we good with talking about the collective bargaining
I-
agreement first before we talk about the budget?
Because we're not taking action, I think you're okay to do that. That's a little bit fuzzy, but.
No, it's on our
but
admin
I
and finance.
Yeah.
yeah, it is.
Admin and finance.
It's number 4.
It wasn't on public health and safety, and that's what we were kind of looking at.
So on the version that I'm looking at, it actually doesn't have it as number 4.
The one that Lonnie sent it out, or the one that Lonnie sent out does have it.
Okay, good.
Yep, that's, no, I got
Okay.
one from Jody that didn't, but the one that Lonnie sent out did.
Right, because you
Okay,
said we
good.
need to add that to it, and
Yeah.
it was on the one that you sent me.
I
You added
I
it.
didn't update my copy of it, so I feel better now.
Okay, you added it, not me, because I didn't know it was gonna be there, so, like, you added it, we're good.
Okay.
It's there, so, okay. Dave, do you wanna talk about it, what the changes are and stuff like
Yeah,
that?
so this will be just discussion tonight. The changes are almost universally having to do with updating dates. There were a couple of requests that came in for dollars and raises, like a dollar boost. The short version is, when we went out and did the data, I did not feel they were warranted, so we didn't go there on that. And particularly because we addressed it by changing the caps on, so to keep us in line, we did that at the same time as they had requested it last year. So the version is we did not make any financial changes this week.
Okay.
There was a change that I had proposed, and that is having to do with maternity and paternity leave. In our contract, we had maternity leave at 6 weeks and paternity leave at 2, and that was not a conversation I wanted to have in front of a judge. I said, I don't care which way it goes, but it needs to be the same for both. And so that is now changed to 6 weeks. Basically, the conversation with our department head was, can we miss an officer for 6 weeks? And the answer is yes, and so it didn't matter. So that was a change that we actually suggested just for,
Well, and if you have a woman officer, you're gonna miss her for 6 weeks
I
as
said,
well.
if you can
I'm like,
miss a woman officer for 6 weeks, you can miss a male officer for 6
Right.
weeks.
I mean,
So we
it
changed
has to
it.
be equal.
Yeah, we changed it so that is the same. The only other question that they had to do, they brought up like stipends for specific job roles, although the one that they were most concerned about was some maintenance for the dog. We informed that is not a contract issue. We did inform them that that is in our budget, that we have put 5,000 there. So, like I said, the changes to the contract are fairly minimal. Oh, we did change the hours on night shift differential was one of the requests. That's on page 11.
From 6
They
to
used to
6.
be 6 to 6, and we changed it from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m.
You changed it from 9 to 7 to 6 to 6.
Oh, to 6 to 6.
Opposite.
And that was not a particularly
Would you go over that again? You changed 6 to 6 to
We
9
changed
to
it-
7?
No, it
No,
was 9
yeah.
to 7, we changed it to 6 to 6.
It was 9 to 7.
And
Yeah,
that was
and I
just
don't
not one of
think
those things that I felt strongly about one way or the other.
And the police department did?
And the police department did, so we made that modification.
Oh, you're-
So page 11 had
I'm
a
gonna do that.
change. I'm going through
The red.
this is good practice for the,
Just like that.
I'll read this till before tonight.
on page 7, when it talked about compensation, there was a change that rather than going from a dollar amount, it went to the pay matrix, and it just specifically referenced what it is this year.
Where do you see that? I see percentages.
The pay
Yeah,
matrix,
we
huh?
did percentages, which is based on the bookend. It happens to mention this year just because we know what that is now.
Oh, and
I
the
remember
COLA is 4% instead of 3.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then page 17 was the page where we
So
talked
inflation
about
must be.
changing it so it was 6 weeks. So I think that's the only differences. There's only 3 pages on there
Okay,
where there were differences in that.
okay. So pretty minor
Is this the
changes.
same as last year? Is, you started with the last?
Yes, it started with the last contract that was in place. Now, the one thing that we did last year, is the bookends. We changed that, and I'm looking for, I don't think it calls out, but I said we had changed that last year. In the bottom of that page, the COLA.
What?
So
Changed it from 3 to 4?
if the number is above 4%, it shall be 4%. And that was in reality something we implemented last year, even though it wasn't reflected in here, and that's on page 7. And the idea there was to get was twofold. A, to get away from having to do specific dollar things.
Right.
And then, the secondary is, the secondary was to just keep it consistent across all departments.
And is it common to have this agreement every 2 years?
It is 2 or 3 or whatever, they can set it to say it's 1 year, so that's, and our goal is that we're hopefully keeping things in line, and we will continue to do a comparison.
To other,
Just to make sure that we're in line. And if we find, our goal, my goal is to be ahead of them. If there's a problem, we don't wanna have to wait for them to ask to fix it, we wanna fix it real time. I do have, by way of information, I do have, Tom's not in here right now.
yeah, phone call.
Yeah, and he came in for another reason, actually. There's a chart I'm putting together for kind of the departments that just kind of shows where we are. This is kind of budget related, and right now I've just got one that he put together that has police and fire. Lonnie, 2021, did we get a bunch, was that COVID money that we used to rebuild the officers? There's a pretty big spike in the 2021 in the police budget. I'm assuming it was
Yeah.
buildings and COVID money.
Yep,
Um,
we did the upgrades in their offices.
yeah, and I thought that's what it was, but, we're expecting, we don't know yet. So this is kind of like a fire, and this is police across the top, just by kind of way of information. I can go print a copy of this
Okay.
that just kind of shows fire and police over the last
Which
10
one's
years.
which?
So this is fire across the bottom, this is police across the top.
Why is, oh, with, sorry.
This spike was, so we had some COVID money and did some building
Right.
construction back
Right.
there. But
That's
just,
strictly budget?
pardon?
That's
That's
spending.
This is the budget and the actuals for those two departments.
Mhm.
And this is not necessarily, I'll print a few copies of this off. We're still working on it, but just kind of wait, as we get into our budget conversations,
But your police department is 100% dependent on the city, if your fire department is not.
Correct.
correct.
That's kind of, that graph kind of used it a little.
Well,
I don't know where he was going with that graph as far as.
well, and I can
Other than
offer
we
that,
spend a lot of money on public safety.
well, which we knew,
Yeah. Combined.
and this is
And-
almost out of paper.
Well, and we would absolutely, I mean, if we hadn't merged with and contracted with Red Lodge Rural and combined those resources, I mean, that's how much worse our budget would be, is if we were funding a whole fire department. We would probably be up there with the same with the police department,
If not
and
more.
which we could not afford. So,
Yeah, and
So-
so, anyway,
I mean,
Do we have a president, Red Lodge Police?
Their council, or their union president.
It's a union president.
Yes.
Okay.
okay. So is everybody okay with any more questions on the police bargaining agreement?
Not yet.
It sounds like they're just,
Minor.
minor changes, so
Yeah.
it's not anything,
It was one of the easier ones.
yeah. Scary or, like, wow.
well, and I think part of that was because we got ahead of it last year.
Yeah, definitely, okay. Okay, so we're done with that. Budget review, finished resort tax and the rest of the draft budget.
And I don't know, I don't know what. Printed, updated
Did you, okay, thank you.
on the last
So I
time.
know that there's been some changes.
This one is just resort tax and then all of Mike's department, so
Okay,
all the public works department.
okay, perfect.
Um,
And that's kind of right where
and
we
I
were
think,
leaving off with, so.
and I'm pretty sure on his,
Okay.
he was gonna go through stormwater and water and sewer to make sure we got all the projects in there and stuff, but those
Okay.
still might be
Just in time.
not in there.
So I didn't print off a copy for you, but you already know it. This is the graph, and I think this is off the first version of the spreadsheet, so this is a little off, we know, right? The graphic?
Yeah, off of which, that should be accurate.
Okay.
I think that's I don't know. Yeah, that's accurate.
And I confirmed that 2021 was COVID money, and it was specific to the rebuilding the offices and stuff back there.
Yeah.
One-time construction cost sort of a thing.
I have a comment about Public Works budget.
Yeah.
Mike made comment in another meeting that he wanted to put money into his budget to finish the skateboard park on the east side.
Yeah.
Okay.
But where the grass, because we paid for the grass,
Mhm.
as part of the donation. Where the grass ended was the property line. So the unfinished part actually belongs to the neighbor who's, my understanding, is getting ready for a major project.
They are, and we are in communication with them.
Yeah.
So we will be, we are working with them, and they may be putting some benches or some other stuff there.
Yeah, so I don't know that the city, it's up to the city to rehab that east side.
No, but do we put in a fence or,
So,
I think what he's worried about is that the sand was coming out there and he didn't want it to undercut, so he wanted to put a wall
And-
wall to hold it so that it wouldn't undercut.
and also on that note, so back when I was on Parks Board, this has been in discussion for 2 years. So, one, they had already worked with them to get permission to finish that out. 2, they wanted to put some sort of wall up so people would stop backing their trucks up to that spot and just hanging out and lounging there, so that was another piece too.
So
So it's in cooperation, so,
Okay.
yep. Again, it's not just city going for it, it's,
right,
yeah, there's,
But you said you saw it in the budget, or?
well.
It was in
there
another
a comment
meeting.
made at another meeting,
Okay, gotcha.
that he was putting,
Yeah.
he was requesting it in his budget to finish that unfinished portion, but the unfinished portion is not city property, it's
Right.
the adjacent property.
I think more accurately stated, to secure the line
Okay,
and to keep it from degrading. But we are, they are getting ready to move forward with that project,
Mhm.
and we are in talks with them to basically work together to make sure it's an organized approach.
okay.
Okay, so.
Lenny just handed out some latest copies of,
Now, we still, in this budget, we still have the 50,000 in the capital outlay for the police. And we had talked, extensively in the resort tax committee meeting about, they had kind of balanced budget of the resort tax spending. So if we have that in there, what are we taking out of the other?
I don't have, do you have a copy of that one that you just handed out?
and I can, so we have, Tom's gonna be giving a presentation of the resort tax to the council tonight.
Yes, and I appreciate that
Um,
greatly, thank you.
And I think if council's direction after that is,
So-
yes, let's match what they're giving us, then the answer is remove that 50,000
Okay, it just,
out
So
of
is
here
that-
to do that.
Do I need to, does this match our budget, or do I need to
No,
go and
this-
double check that?
No, so what
that's what I'm saying, it does not matter.
she's saying is, but the only difference you're seeing is the 50,000?
Well, it's still in there, the 50,000 is still in the police
Is
budget.
that the only departure from the proposed resort tax?
I just got this 2 minutes ago, so I'm still
Okay.
looking.
Okay.
So,
So
that's
the
why I was
So the
asking.
expectation is that you will present the resort tax proposal tonight in budget, and we need to know where the differences are so we can adjust our budget.
Yeah, but
That's
Yeah.
what-
I think what we talked about is you were gonna make sure this matched our proposal before we did that.
Well,
Because otherwise this was my frustration, otherwise, why do we exist? We're wagging the debt, if you're making a budget, and then we're going, and we're making budgets, why have two separate processes? That makes no sense whatsoever. It kind of like, it makes me feel, and I think the rest of the resort tax committee feel like, we've spent a bunch of time trying to figure out where the resort tax should go, what it should go in, so that we can make that recommendation. And when you produce a budget that doesn't have our numbers at it, and now it's like, oh, well, we need to decide whether we want to go with the budget the mayor produced, or the budget that the resort tax committee spent months working on, that makes no sense to me.
So let me add my 2 cents for that. We have department heads giving us numbers that we are collecting and having not yet have. Now, we have yours now, so
But
your
the department
request-
head should be giving that information, if the resort tax committee is gonna exist, that information should have come, as we talked about in January, and we talked about last year, that was supposed to go to the resort tax committee, and then the resort tax committee builds that budget. If you've got your department heads building a budget that's separate from any information that the resort tax committee, the resort tax committee has had zero presentation for anything from law enforcement.
Okay, so let me back up and re-ask the question. What I hear you saying is, I get that you have placeholders and blah, 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 but you now have a budget from us,
And you did
Which-
3 months ago.
but
Yeah.
it's changed.
Only because of input, but yes, it's
Okay,
changed through
it's
meetings.
changed. This should now reflect that budget.
It should have all
It-
along, yes.
Okay, and then your blood pressure goes down.
Yeah, it's just about, my blood pressure, it's just, I just don't wanna waste my time.
No,
This isn't
Yeah.
a final one.
But
No,
there
but
shouldn't be
I-
a draft.
Mhm.
The draft should be, the resort tax committee is supposed to build the draft.
Does-
Or the resort tax committee should have been given this What's the purpose of the resort
You
tax
guys
committee?
have gotten that though, because you guys brought up
We
the
got,
fact that.
we got it.
You brought up the fact
Okay,
that the police
I'm,
department was getting.
what I'm
way
hearing, I
too
think
much
that
money.
gets us back on the line is this should reflect what the
So-
resort tax has given.
Okay, let me just interject here for just a second. The resort tax really worked really hard, specifically Tom, on creating a resort tax budget that balances so that we have enough in reserves to meet what the city had decided it needed. So my question is, and council and the mayor they can change that, but if you add 50,000 here, it's not balancing anymore, so you have to let us know what else is,
And my,
what's changing,
no,
if we decide to keep that there.
so let my inner Tom come out. 50,000 should not be reflected here at this point because it
That-
did not come recommended to us from the resort tax committee.
Correct,
Are we good so far, Tom?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
So, my question then was, are there any other changes that we have identified that we need to change here to make this reflect what the resort tax has provided as input? Monty, can you think of anything off the bat that's
That
different?
we've changed. I don't
So-
think we really changed anything else, did we, Tom?
So
Yes, we went
here's,
through and compared,
Yeah,
at the meeting, we went through and compared this
yes.
to the resort tax budget,
Let me see if I can
and
give it.
you made the changes, and you were supposed to make the changes on this.
and I figured that was after the but I see zero problem with doing it prior to the meeting tonight. So, best we can, we know of one. The possibility exists that there are other changes that are there.
We can go through it again and figure it out. Do you have that document that you wrote on last time? Did you make,
So we have your presentation. So
At the resort tax meeting, when we made the changes, did you take notes?
we went line for line
yeah,
at the resort tax committee meeting.
let me pull that out.
Not to put you on the spot, Mayor, but.
No, that's all right. I volunteered for this job.
If you and the
And in
council wanna do a
concept-
different process, it's perfectly fine.
So,
I just don't wanna waste, I don't wanna show up at resort tax committees and spend time on stuff, because I don't have time.
here's what I believe, what we did last year, and what I believe we've kind of all agreed is the process. The input from all the department heads has made it to the resort tax committee. Are we all agreeing there? And whether that was from they came to you, or whether it was because it was in the draft version that Lonnie put together. All of that information made it to the resort tax
Yes.
committee.
That's correct.
The resort tax committee then provided us feedback and said, here's what we recommend that balances out.
That's correct.
And that, since we talked about it, included, since the previous version we had getting to this one, that included dropping fire from resort tax, and it included dropping the 50,000 for future police projects.
Right.
And I am looking at the,
We increased, the
and
park
therefore it
a
should
little bit
be,
too.
so let it be written, so let it be done, that our budget will reflect what the resort tax committee gave us as a recommendation. Are we all clear on that page?
What
We
I'm trying to, is, we had this before,
Right, and that's what we
that's
did.
last year.
Right, and we have a new one.
This, to me, is a lot easier to read than the details in this,
Correct.
but we don't
I-
have one.
I will make sure we do
But
have that.
Just so you know, that does not go into our budget document. It can reflect what they're asking, it's in ours, but that's not a separate one that will be attached. to
Right,
ours.
that's-
But when it says
Budget.
tax relief and it has it in here, there should be a line item here for that.
There is.
And then admin and
this-
PERS is broken out in our budget.
This is what the resort tax did at our last meeting, and I apologize, I don't have copies for everyone. But the 25-26 budget, line by line.
This is the one from the last meeting?
No, this is 24-25. Do you have?
And this is,
I do not
but this-
have the.
this is the
did you send a
simplified
copy
to
after
me,
the meeting,
this
the
is
electronic
simplified.
Do I have that?
Yeah, it's a shared document.
This
so
is
yes, you do.
simplified and makes me
I
happy.
will develop, after this meeting, I will develop a printed version. Let me go, if you want, I can zoom it up there.
Perfect.
If
Because that's a really
if it's helpful.
Standard,
Can you print it to a PDF and send it to me, and I will print and give everybody?
No, I have
right
to,
now?
because it's not formatted for printing right now, because
yeah,
I've been-
not yet.
I've been messing with it for the presentation, so it has graphs and stuff on top of things to,
Okay.
to,
So that it is understood and we're all on the same page, the budget that we have, which does not currently reflect, we know of at least one difference. We know one difference has been made, the fire has been taken out of this.
Was never in there. from
Okay.
my side.
And we know that there's 50K that needs, let me go down to that page.
On page
The
one.
top page.
Page which?
Right on
Number
the
one.
top page, under law enforcement, the second, item.
I still have not heard a page number, folks, I'm sorry.
One.
Page one?
Of the new document that Lonnie just gave us. Here,
Okay, capital outlay, 50,000.
yes.
Right.
Okay. So, it is my guidance and direction.
Recording
That-
in progress.
Did we,
We're fine.
oh, that's because somebody joined. Oh, that also means he has sound on.
I turned it on.
Oh my God, you guys.
Relax, we're all good.
And see, as much as I appreciate the line by line, the advantage obviously of this is it
So-
shows
So
4% goes to that, 10%
Yeah,
goes
but,
to.
But this
the
is-
city
this
has
is
to
the format
budget
that
on
we have
their
to
sheet.
approve.
We
I
created this
understand that.
because it's easier for the public to understand. If you give
And
that
me.
to the public, it's very difficult to understand.
And me.
It-
Yeah. And then after I have those numbers, then I can check this and go through the details, but
Yeah,
this is,
and-
extremely helpful.
Okay, so let me go back to this. It is my guidance and direction that our budget will reflect what the resort tax is given. Feel free to add whatever comments you want to, like, police have requested additional that's not reflected, or kind of, I'm okay with that. And the mayor and with the blessing of council, has the ability to go in and change that. But for this moment in time, I want that to reflect as a starting point what resort tax has given to us, which is now their second version, which is fine, that this is a reiterative
Because we
process.
took input back from,
Yeah,
at the last meeting,
The process.
we had done the budget 2 months ago, and then at the last meeting, we were told that
we took
there
the
was
additional-
another budget process going on.
it was, well, we're but again, those aren't, in my mind, those aren't in conflict with each other. This is a reiterative process.
Yeah, which is fine, as long as,
Have I gotten us to where we wanted to end up, Tom?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Let's be done with that.
So,
So,
me,
I know it's hard to see because it's behind you now, but essentially, I can go through and compare those two again, which is what we did at the last meeting. But this is that document that you're looking at. I will build it into a printable sheet. The reason it's not printable right now, as you can see, it's got this kind of stuff in it.
Right.
We just have to go in and select the
But I
cells.
love it, it's so simple, it says it exactly what we needed to say.
And in the report that I give tonight, it will outline all this stuff that the committee discussed and recommended. It's divided basically into two pieces, which is stuff that it appears to be reoccurring,
Right,
which is 72% of your revenue right now,
right.
and stuff that is capital projects,
It is
which
one
is,
time.
which is one-time money.
Right.
So essentially, you get, now, this is of the 3%, there's also, the 1% on, infrastructure tax, obviously. But so then these are the one-time projects that are recommended, and, so that, so then, and it shows the balance at the bottom, and everything makes sense and balances, at least the cash reserve. The mayor requested a minimum of a $300,000 cash reserve at the end of the year, in case we were to have,
Lord knows.
collection issues. or something were to happen. So that's why that is there. And then the $600, the future collections, I will spend time, I can talk about that now, I will talk about it tonight.
And it is my desire that you also talk about the stuff that's not on here. So for instance, there was a request for $50K for police. We did not put that in here for the following reason.
Yeah, and I think that was the only thing that, the two things that we talked about that, you know, I mean, there were some adjustments to some things, but the two big things that were talked about is that you had requested that we look at the agreement with the city and the fire department, so there was it was based on percentage, so it was about $170,000 in there. For fire protection, that was removed, and the $50,000 for police was removed. Other than that, everything else, there was some wrangling back and forth and where the recommendation ended up. The dump truck,
Well, and, yeah,
the dump truck got lost in the shuffle somehow,
Yes.
and now it's down at $20,000, and I thought it was at 50 at one point, but there.
I think it's split across three
He kept
departments.
changing the amount at the
Yeah,
meeting.
he kept-
So,
it-
I was
it
trying
had-
to-
Go with what came out of the meeting.
And we had to do-
$20,000 is what came out
and
of
we
the
had to
meeting.
do the
And then
load
the mini
loader.
loader ended up being an ad that we had that in. We've also been keeping track, you can see here, of future requests, things that we think might be coming up so that we can plan into, the future. And we had that mid-size loader for snow removal at $300,000. I believe he's planning to get a used one, for about $120,000, and we're asked to move that up to purchase that this year.
I know we talked about this last time, the Pride Park improvements,
So,
$82,000.
those are in there. Pride Park improvements were a specific thing, and that was presented to us as a thing to consider, 6 months ago, so that has been in for a while. So the two things in parks that have changed is, we did that $82,000 for Pride Park improvements, and then the park projects, we moved from $80,000 to $100,000 a year. And some of that was to pick up, the pickleball and some of the pickleball needs, and just to align. It's been at $80,000 since the beginning, and just to align. Park improvements were kind of like the number one thing that the community requested, and so making sure that we align with that value is focused on the park.
And if you add all of the parks together, including the pools, it's a huge chunk out of
It's a huge chunk,
Huge chunk.
and we show that, here, that's why I built this graph. This is the budget graph. I can also show the expenditure graph, so if you wanna look here, this is a good way to do it. You know, what we find is 50% of the money goes to water and sewer, of our resort tax that's collected goes to water and sewer, a water sewer sponsor, which is down significantly from what it was pre-2020, which was like almost 90% or something, 80-something% was water sewer. And that was a big push. I will talk about this a little bit tonight, but the pool's 10%, and then parks is about 10% as well. So you end up with about 20%. Now, one of the things in this budget, just because of the way the city budgets with the pool income, which it generates itself, is reflected as income like resort tax income.
It goes into, yeah.
Because it goes into the resort tax fund.
So
So there's probably a little bit of a fudge there. I could build graphs that showed that external, but there's about $80,000 to $90,000 in.
Yeah, and it's separated, it's not, when we collect it, it doesn't, it's separated in funds.
Yeah, and
It's
we,
just on paper that it looks.
yeah,
like it's
and
related.
like, we show it here as separate, so I could separate that out. It's easy. I show it at $70,000.
In our accounting system, it's separate.
Yeah,
On
75.
the revenue part of it, it's separate.
And personally, we need to start saving for a new police department. So I think that that's really important,
And I believe
coming
that-
out of the resort.
So,
And
so,
$82,000 to redo all of Pride Park at one time, I would say that that's where the money would come. In other words, if we're gonna put 50,000 aside, let's do some improvements to Pride Park, the most pressing ones, but not everything in one year at $82,000.
I mean, part of the concern with that is when you're generally doing those types of fixes or projects, your cost is going to be more effective and better used if you do it all at once, as well as it's gonna be done more efficiently. So it makes sense to stack and put it all together. So it doesn't mean that next year, the police department might not get a big kitty. Like, I'd rather see, if we're gonna do Pride Park, either one, downsize the project to be a little less glamorous, or two, do it all at once, and then those funds will be then reallocated the following year.
and there's yet another
And I'm
option.
open
And
for
so,
that.
so first off,
Yeah.
tonight is going to be the Resort Tax Committee's recommendations, which will be reflected in the budget at that point in time.
Okay.
We still have 2 weeks before we're done, we have a final budget. To me, with that feedback that you guys have was, do we do 85,000 plus the 85,000 for the park, or do we say that's the because to me, when you're doing a big project, I think about how I do it at my house. This is a big project, that means some of the other stuff we're gonna do is not gonna be so much. The general park stuff, we're gonna have 40,000. So that's part of that conversation that's there. But we have a committee to set up for this. I do want them to feel valued and input. That does not mean that we're not bound to that. But-
100%.
Yeah.
And I don't think
But-
anybody
but-
in the
but
resort tax
any
committee thinks,
change that we
thinks
make
we are.
needs to be part of the discussion.
Mhm.
The goal would be that when we're done, they say, I get why you did that. I don't agree with you.
Okay.
Or maybe I do. Maybe you gave me additional information that's there. And I get that, because in my mind, when we were doing Pride Park, there's a decrease in general park funds, which is not what was
Let me
required.
just make two comments quickly that relate to this. One is, part of our challenge is the future of building something facilities. While we have discussed reserving money for City Hall, it has never come up to have money reserved for police facilities, has never been presented by anybody to the Resort Tax Committee. So that has not been something that has been,
Discuss.
not even discussed. We've talked about
Do we
City
have it
Hall.
on a future years thing?
Nope.
No,
No,
it's never even,
It's never even been brought up.
It's never
as
been
an
brought up
issue
to
us.
council
And
yeah,
either. I
so-
mean, it's all brand new.
Yeah,
And
so
not,
this is-
not that I
this is
don't
not
think
some-
that they need a nicer place to be, or,
Yeah,
you know, nicer
We have
facilities.
talked about this facility, but that's, you know, as a whole. So just that piece. The other thing, and I will present this tonight, is that understanding where we came from resort tax, and this goes a little bit into the Pride Park thing, is that, you know, there was a big push by the community to have things that made a difference in the community in the resort tax, and that's why we
Invisible.
reduced property tax relief. We eliminated the amount that the businesses kept, and we eliminated the administrative cost that the city kept, was so that we would have more money for things like pool, parks, and downtown. And when you look at the resort tax graph, and I'll show this tonight, that, you know, we are seeing significant increases in resort tax, so we need to continue to invest in the downtown, in the people that are paying that money. And so that's why the resort tax committee, in my belief, was happy with the Public Works Director that was not driven by Public Works, it was driven by the Parks Committee. Driven by the Resort Tax Committee, was presented to us. And I think we believed it was good because he showed us what was wrong with Pride Park, why it needed to be improved, how the maintenance would be improved, and the look of the downtown that it would help. And so that's why we thought that was an important project.
And with that, I can take of where I goofed, and I'll own this. When police came to me and when my advisors came to me and said, let's put stuff in the resort tax, my error, which will be corrected in the future, is directing them to say, you need to go make your case to the resort tax committee so that they can make a recommendation about yay or nay, whether that fits in and how to make it fit.
Well, and I think it
And
needs to
you
be
know, I
the
do
council
appreciate
too.
you, but I'm picking on you because
I'm 100%
we did
okay with
ask
that.
you to do that for us.
And that's one that I didn't.
Yeah.
That's what I said. That was one I just said, oh, yeah, let's put it in, as much as anything, so I didn't forget about it. Which is, and so when I have something come up, I said, Lonnie, please go put this line in, and she's doing that at my direction. So
Right.
just to keep it directed at me, that's where it's coming from.
Yeah, well, and I think council would like to see, you know, some of the, if there's plans or what the whole, you know, before we approve $50,000, you know, to go towards this, you know, what exactly is that gonna look like? Is it going to be remodeling that? Is it going to be moving that? Is it going to be?
Can I just address
Yeah.
that 50,000? So that was brought up to start building up its funds, to
Right.
be able to build a new facility
Okay,
for the police department. Because they are crowded back there. I
yes,
mean,
and I'm not
they're
disputing that at
literally
all.
in an office in a shop building.
Right.
Where the fire department used to be, and, you know, have their stuff in there. So that 50,000 was to build on every year. It wasn't going to be used
1 year.
Right.
1 year. It was to start building a fund to be able in 5, 10 years, be able to put that towards a new facility for the police department. That was the thought behind the 50,000.
Right.
It would be put into a restricted
So
cash.
there is no true plan in place
No,
yet?
it's a future,
Okay.
it's a
Someday we're gonna
future-
have to replace the car.
And I think the piece that the Resort Tax Committee is looking for was to have a plan before we start, you know, and some of this is that putting money aside to sit and not be used, as things get more expensive, things, everything gets exponential in our world. And so, without a plan, just reserving money doesn't make a lot of sense when you can use it to, why reserve money and not improve Pride Park this year to then have to save money for Pride Park to then be used and have it be more expensive to make the same repairs to Pride Park next year when you just had money sitting in the bank.
And we saw a similar thing with that, because my guidance and direction was, I wanted to have less obligated funds in the resort tax, so we could make decisions year to year. This is what we're gonna do, this is what we're gonna do. We saw a really good example of this in the vacuum truck, because we ended up paying cash for that all at once out of resort tax, as opposed to financing it, because it saved us $100,000 plus to do so.
Yeah, we were gonna, originally they wanted to finance it, and they were gonna split it between water
Or
and
they were
sewer,
willing to
and,
finance it.
and that's why we put that, we felt like Public Works made a
Presentation.
cogent argument for why that back truck was important and why it would benefit everybody. But I think one of the challenges that we've seen is that, I stopped sharing that, but is that, we put a lot of money towards water and sewer, and we continue to put a lot of money towards water and sewer. And I think my personal opinion is that there is money there in water and sewer, and that may be where, if you want to consider facilities, and we're in the same position with the fire department, we need new facilities for the fire department as well. And, truthfully, the city is not paying what they need to pay for fire protection currently. And you have that piece, but you've got a lot of money in water and sewer. So the question is that where do you get money for something like a $3, $4, $5 million facility? It's not gonna come at $50,000 a year. You're gonna have to pull, $500,000 a year out of, if you wanna fund it with some resort tax money, you're gonna need to make some decisions as whether you buy new snowplows and new back trucks and support water infrastructure. The advantage that you have is that we put a lot of money into water infrastructure and sewer infrastructure, so you've got some backstop in that. So you've got some flexibility in that, but my personal opinion is you should not take that kind of infrastructure from the community facilities part of the resort tax. You're spending about, 2% of the total resort tax on essentially property tax. And I assume Jody has told you this, The Resort Tax Committee has said very clearly about law enforcement, and this was not coming from me. But as a group, the Resort Tax said very clearly that they believe police is important to fund police, and I agree with that. But that we need to talk to the community about that, and just trying to continue to piece together a police budget from everywhere you can get it without going out to the community and saying, and doing a public safety mill levy for police is a mistake. Because I think they're worried that we'll continue to try to support other things to get money for police infrastructure without asking the community for money.
And I always thought that resort tax was because we have a lot of tourism. And this way the tourists are the ones that are technically paying for these extras. But because our population doubles, like on last weekend and other weekends, that increases
Every weekend in July.
yeah, that increases the police department's commitment. And when you have 7 officers, the same as we did in the 80s, it doesn't make any sense. And so then it gets to the point that the city's struggling to try to keep the police force 24/7, and they're working in a facility that is less than optimum. So if one started saving $50,000 a year in 10 years, yes, you know, the prices will go up. But at that point, at least they have a budget that then they can say, okay, we've got $500,000, let's drop a plan where, how. If you drop the plan now, it's worthless in 10 years. But there has to be money start to be put aside for a new police department. And that's my theory. It's gotta come from somewhere. And personally, I think the resort tax should be putting aside a very small percentage. I forgot what the percentage was, 50,000 out of 2 million is a small amount to put aside and start with a future project.
Madam Chair,
That's where I'm
Yes.
coming
your
from.
time awareness?
Yes, sorry. No, I just think this is a very important discussion to have, and I really appreciate Tom coming. And I really appreciate you coming tonight to discuss this in front of all
And
the
I think just
council.
the only comment I would have, we have a lot of flexibility and a lot of time to do that in the Resort Tax Committee, to have those kinds of conversations, and we just
I wasn't aware that you had never had that conversation.
never, yes. And so I think that that's the right place for that, so it's not taking up this meeting, then it's with the whole Resort Tax Committee, and I think that that's I agree, it could be an appropriate thing. I'm concerned about the savings piece, but I think the right place for that is if we're gonna have a Resort Tax Committee, the right place to have that conversation is the Resort Tax Committee.
Correct.
Yes, and that would be, you know, where the Public Works Director comes and talks to the Resort Tax Committee about his budget and
His project.
his project.
I know.
But he comes all the time,
Yeah.
and we've
Yeah.
asked for other people to come too.
Yeah.
Haven't had that happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and again, acknowledging that they are an advisory committee, it's incumbent upon me specifically not to take everything they say as scripture, but for them to, when they look back on it, their time is valuable, yes, we're being heard, we may be overridden sometimes, but we get why when we are.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be, you aren't listening to me, you do, and I think that where the reflection is, where we've done this independently, and I said, we'll put that on me.
Well, and I think, I just want it to balance, and I want to take input from the Resort Tax Committee, but, you know, and at the end of the day, I mean, if we put the 50,000, keep the 50,000, something else has to come out. It has to balance. I mean, if we want to keep the 300,000.
I will say here, just on the surface, is that if you put the $50,000 in now, it's gonna come out of the cash reserves,
No,
right?
it's not.
Well, I mean, you could say it's not going to, but you could cut something else too, but the reality is we do have cash reserves, so
It would lower your cash
you would lower your cash reserves, so you could allocate that through discussions next year and go back as well. So that's perfectly fine to do.
Yeah.
And to me, it would be, you're taking it out of parks, if you keep all the Pride Park there,
Mhm.
that that between, and that's what it boils down to, right? It's just the same thing we all deal with at home.
Sure.
We want to do this, okay, what are we not going to do in order to facilitate that?
Something's gonna
And
be-
the emergency fund is not where it's going to come.
And the question is, and the mayor's brought this up to us multiple times, you know, we're putting $250,000 a year into water and sewer, which essentially is a rate reduction piece. You could
Well,
take that out of rate reduction, yeah, and allocate it towards, now, maybe you've got loans connected to that, you've got other things that are in there, but the reality is rate reduction, right? And so that could give you $250,000 a year for, a law enforcement center. Now you've got money you can work with.
Yeah.
You know, and so you could say, all right, we actually can do something with that money.
well, it's also that I was told by the Public Works Director and by Lonnie that the $250,000 also helps enable
It does
future
enable a lot of
bonding.
stuff, yep.
Them to get future bonds at
It helps
decent rates.
us turn every dollar into 2 or 3
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
that's a-
but it's just about priorities,
It
whether
is.
you want to build water and sewer infrastructure, you want to build police infrastructure, whether you want to build park infrastructure, those are the kinds of decisions you have to make.
All right, well, I'm glad we did the police collective bargaining agreement first, because I knew we would not get to it. All right, well, anything else? Any more public comments? Because we are over on our time, so.
Are we? Because we started at 9:15.
We did,
Okay,
but
yeah.
our meetings are supposed to be over at 10.
10.
Okay, well, then, the only thing I would say is with that, I still think that because it hasn't been presented to the resort tax committee, just waiting a year on that reserve. That's my personal opinion, but I'm done.
And I tend to agree with that, even though I'm anxious to
Eager.
Yep.
see it get started.
Yep, that's fair.
And I would say you've upped, I mean, we moved police from, you know, to 147,000 in police expenditures
Yeah,
this
they
year.
have
So that's
quite a bit.
significant, it is a significant increase.
Right.
Maybe they don't need a truck, one
Yeah.
less truck, keep one of the other trucks running.
But you have to realize too, they're replacing 20-year-old equipment.
Yeah.
Out of the reserve tax.
Yes,
And
they
we
didn't-
did not do any cars last year.
Yeah, they
Which
didn't.
in fairness, in retrospect, is kind of a problem. We need to stretch that
Well,
out.
we had it budgeted for one every year, realizing that they would probably do 2 every other year. in the
Okay.
resort
That,
tax.
yeah, so I will tell you, that piece, the resort tax has planned always to be doing 2 cars every other year. That
Right,
was,
that's fine.
that
Yeah,
was,
for the
that
last
was in
several
our
years.
plan, there was no shock with that expenditure. We've always known about that, there was nothing, so just to be clear on that.
Yeah.
We had planned, and we had thought about trying to smooth that, which is saying, you know, we'll put $60,000 a year and put it into a police reserve account, but we just budgeted. We knew we were gonna be, you know, we had planned for minimal expenditures last budget year, and then going up to, what we
A
had
bigger
planned for
one
was
this year.
$100,000. There was adds to that for other equipment that brought it to 147, I believe. And so, you know, that was not necessarily planned for, but I don't think anybody on the resort tax committee had any issue with any of that stuff.
I'm not finding the notes, but Lonnie, there were a couple things that we had listed in there from resort tax that are probably not resort tax eligible, specifically the vest. Because it's like if each vest is under $5,000, it doesn't qualify for resort tax. It just means we have to figure out where it's gonna come from alternatively. Because if it's in resort tax, it needs to be individually a $5,000 capital item.
Where does it say that?
I'll verify with the
Okay.
auditors, but I think that, because it's still equipment for them, so,
Yeah.
it's still a capital expense.
So I know we've done it in the past and we have gotten in trouble, but,
It's not-
Well,
it's-
yeah,
it's not one-
we're trying to do things
He said-
by the book as best as possible.
right, I just don't know that just check, Lonnie, not to direct you, but you know, see if it actually spells out that it has to be over $5,000, or if it can be any equipment type
I had
of
heard
thing.
that as well.
And I think it may even be just, what is the definition of capital?
The IRS defines it as you can't break down individual items, but that may be different for government budgeting. The auditors may see that differently.
Anything?
As a side note, there's a big grant out there for development of recreational opportunities in the community parks
Yes,
that.
We got it.
So how much does the city need to be setting aside?
So.
That is in there.
That's in there.
Yeah, so that's pilot tourism grant. So we got that grant, it's about increasing tourism and tourism infrastructure, I think is what you're talking about. The $2.65 million grant, $2.7 million dollar grant, we got $1 million of it is allocated, this year and next year. Well, it doesn't align with the city's budget year, but, and then, we should get with the next legislature, the allocation of the next step to it. The priorities on that are, improvements to the Roosevelt Center, ice rink, and Coal Miners Park, and trails, infrastructure trails, like snow capper trails, to try to, the goal is to try to build winter.
Is there matching monies required from the?
Nope.
Okay.
There is, I mean, there is, yes, there are some matching monies, but not particularly, like, that's all been allocated in our system. So, yeah, so that's why there's ice rink money in here. It's not funding a full ice rink, but it will fund part of it. And it probably will fund some improvements to Coal Miners Park, but it's not gonna imply all the improvements that Coal Miners Park needs. So.
Right, we good?
Okay.
Okay. See you tonight. That'll be,
Oh, joy.
okay,
Adjourned.
adjourned, meeting adjourned. Dave, I will be late to public